Once upon a time there lived a cactus named Spike. He lived in the small town of West Prickly. He was a lonely cactus, as he didn't have very many friends. He was tall, awkward, clumsy, and just looked different from all the other cacti. Any time he walked to the store or went to the park, the others just looked at him funny and shrugged him off. So one day, with the sun shining brightly, Spike went out for a ride into the desert. Suddenly, out of nowhere, a giant dust storm came rolling through. "Oh my gosh, a giant haboob!" he screamed. "I need to get back into town." But as he tried to get to cover, he was sucked up by a large gust of wind, and the haboob took him in. Spike opened his eyes, and all he saw was white. "Wow, I must have really hit my head. I can barely see." But what Spike didn't know was that the haboob had carried him back in time and into the Ice Age. Feeling dazed and confused, Spike saw a giant snow creature charging closer to him. But Spike, not really knowing where he was, started to run. The creature caught up to Spike and chased him around until finally Spike poked him with a needle. The creature screamed, "Ouch!" and ran for his life. "Whoa, what was that?" Spike thought. "I don't think I'm in West Prickly anymore." So Spike got up and headed towards dry land. But as he was just about to touch land, a huge avalanche in the distance started to fall, and a blizzard came roaring his way. "Oh no, not again!" he yelled. And before Spike had any time to react, he fell off the edge of a cliff and was launched into oblivion. Spike woke up and immediately realized he was underwater in a world like nothing he had seen. There were strange aquatic plants and animals all around him. He saw a friendly-looking fish swim by, but when he approached the fish to ask how to get home, the fish swam up and took a bite out of Spike. The fish got more than it bargained for, though, with a mouthful of Spike's spines. The injured fish turned tail and swam off, with Spike stuck to his lip. He traveled some distance and headed into his cave, looking for a place to get rid of the spiky cactus stuck in his mouth. The fish swam too close to an oyster, and the oyster took a bite out of Spike too. Like the fish, the oyster found Spike more than he expected. It opened up, and Spike was jettisoned from the oyster, along with a fancy pearl. Spike tried to swim to the surface, but got trapped in a strong current, and was transported across the ocean. When Spike got a good look around, he saw the remains of a sunken ship of some sort. The current had dragged him along, and he saw what he thought was a cave. Maybe he could rest in the cave. Unfortunately, the cave turned out to be the mouth of a whale. The whale didn't like Spike's spines, though, and shot Spike out his blowhole. From the whale's blowhole, Spike was sent flying in the discharge through the air, and luckily landing on a passing battleship. The battleship was involved in a sea battle with their arch-enemy. Because they were out of ammo, they shoved Spike into the barrel of the cannon and fired him across the sea. Spike woke up and must have hit his head even harder this time, because all he saw was black and white. He looked around and he noticed that he was in a scientific lab. As he looked around the lab, all he saw were experiments being performed on other creatures that looked like people from West Prickly. "Is that Slither? Myrtle? Scorpio?" he asked himself. "They must have been taken by the mad scientist during the haboob. I need to help them." Spike snuck through the lab and tried to save his friends. He saw the mad scientist getting his tools ready to start the next experiment, and tackled him from behind and shouted, "You'll never hurt my friends!" After a long few minutes of wrestling and fighting, Spike took a big swing with his arms and hit the mad scientist, knocking him out. Spike went to untie all his friends, and they looked around for a way to escape the lab. He saw a large power lever and pulled the lever, which opened the exit. As he did this, Spike noticed the writing on the big screen at the front of the room that read, "Return to West Prickly, enter here." They all huddled up and reached out to press it together. Spike and his friends were launched into a time portal that sent them on a dizzying trip back to West Prickly. As Spike and the others returned home, they were greeted by a celebration. The townspeople rejoiced and praised Spike for his heroic actions traveling through time and space to rescue the others. Spike was paraded through town and saluted with firecrackers and showered with confetti.